And so, okay, cool. So, oh, you know what? One of the things that I wanted to mention was, uh, have you ever counted how many times you dodged death?
Ooh. I started
Because
thinking
that
about
bullet story was
that.
so nuts,
Oh my
so
god.
nuts. And the way you mentioned that you felt a force, like, oh my god, I couldn't even imagine
I
that
It took
intensity.
me, I mean, what seems like eternity, but probably, a minute or so to figure out what had even happened because it all just happened so fast. But yeah, so just, to fill people in who are listening, a quick Cliff Notes version of the story was I was with a friend. We were going after some other girls that she didn't like. We ended up going down to their house that was a few cities away, left the house, and a really like a strong thud. I felt something on the back of my head as we're driving in the truck away. I was in the passenger seat and heard a loud noise, and like it took me a few minutes or I don't know seconds to react. But what it ended up being was a bullet, and it had been stopped. That one of the girls shot at us as we were driving away. But one of the like the her truck, my friend's truck, was older. I was like trying to think of her name. I'm like, wait, I changed it in the story. But this person's truck was older. It was like an '80s truck, and it had the metal plates in the seat cushion and the headrests. And so when we finally pulled over after we had driven out of the town 10, 15 miles away, um, we looked at the truck, and like, of course, the back window was completely gone, but there was a bullet stuck in where my headrest was, and I was like, holy shit. If she didn't have those metal plates, I would have been dead. Like, it was straight shot to the head. But and I'm sure that wasn't the girl's aim. I think it was just on accident. I doubt she had that good at aim. But there were a few other scenarios. I had a really bad motorcycle accident. I've had a few drug overdoses. I've few really close call car accidents, and it's crazy because like of course the ODs were my fault, but like the car accidents and the motorcycle accident, none of those were my fault. I'm actually a very, very defensive driver. I've been behind the wheel since I was a kid because I grew up in a small town, and then I worked at an auto body shop at one point, and so I used to get to drive cars on the racetrack, and like I'm like,
You like cars?
I love cars,
Yeah.
and I'm definitely outside of the world a little bit more now. I used to be able to tell you like anything, like engine size about like any kind of car. I mean, things are so different now, and I kind of miss it a little. Like I was such a tomboy, but I could tell
I think
you
it's
like
so funny that you changed your Mercedes number. That was such a funny
I
thing.
forgot I
And
admitted that.
good job too,
Yeah,
because it
it was
looked
a
fun.
long time ago. It was so funny. Yeah, I had a little Benz that funny story. It was an SLK 230 and supercharged, and I like the 320 was a 6 cylinder. It wasn't supercharged, but it was a 6 cylinder, so it was a couple $1,000s more expensive, I believe. And I had an old like modeling sort of picture of me on the back of the Benz, and you can see the 230. And I was educated in Photoshop, and I switched the 3 and the 2 so that it would look like the more expensive car. And it just blows my mind looking at it now because I'm like, I did everything I could to try to fit in or be cooler.
To be better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like, no, being 19 years old, driving a Mercedes that you paid for isn't good enough. No, 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 you got to have the better model. And
Not a good enough model.
right,
Yeah.
like what the hell would they like?
Mhm.
I guess I needed a Ferrari. No, I still wouldn't have been happy.
Yeah.
It was crazy, and I'll catch myself doing that sometimes now. Not nearly as bad, but man, the people that I hung out with were multimillionaires, so it was like that little car that I had was nothing. And
The lizard brain. Part of this is have you heard this before?
no.
The lizard brain. So maybe it was coined by Seth Godin. I definitely don't think so. He talks no, it wasn't. Seth Godin talks about the person that coined it. It's like one of the oldest parts of our brain. It's kind of like what the rest of the brain grew
Mhm.
around. And like what is more of the common knowledge around it is that we were made to survive.
Mhm.
And we were made to be in groups. A human on their own in the wild would just be destroyed really quickly. But a human in a pack, a human in a tribe. If you have a tribe, you can survive. And so much of our programming that, by the way, it's hard to control / you can't control a lot of it. You just deal with it and you
Mhm.
adjust.
If you even know.
If you even know, wake up. Now, I guarantee you, much like the story that Danielle just shared, she wouldn't be photoshopping to fluff up what she's got going on now. um, she'll feel empowered by what truly is and find good angles to jive with within
Mhm.
it. Like I think that that's cool, and that's a good point too, because I know a lot of the things that I used to fluff up or make sound or look better, or that I tried to do that was really just trying to impress society's
Mhm. What you
expectations of
think
what
their
good.
expectations are? Yeah.
And then you're wrong anyways, because perfection is subjective. It's an opinion,
Oh yeah.
right? Like, and
I gotta tell you kind of a funny little story there because I'm definitely not perfect with this now. It's gotten better, but funny story. So I had a woman on this podcast a while ago. It was when I first started. It was like in the teen number podcast,
all
right?
right, all right.
And she is successful. She's a little older than me, and I was driving down here on the weekend to record the podcast because she was coming from Orange County. And little side note, I have a Honda that I drive to work every day, and then I have an older Lexus that okay, it's a Lexus, but it's older. I mean, it's nothing special. It's just the engine's a little bit bigger, and so
And it's a Lexus.
well, this is part of the story. But the engine's a little bigger, so the gas mileage is worse. So I don't drive that one around here at all. And so, I I had to drive the Honda that day to meet her because I was going to drive the Lexus just to impress her, just because it's a little
You
bit
caught
nicer
yourself?
than the Honda. No,
You did it.
I was, no, this was the worst part. So the problem is the Lexus had to be put in the shop that morning because there was
Mm.
I don't know, something happened. And so I had to take the Honda, and I'm like, God damn it, this woman, she's a doctor. She lives in Orange County. She has this mansion. She's the beautiful lady. Like, oh my God, she's gonna end up thinking I'm a piece of shit because I drive a Honda, right? And so I'm so self conscious about this because, yeah, I knew she was going to see the car, that I text her on my drive down. It's my first time meeting her. And I say, I'm so sorry. I'm just driving my Honda. The Lexus is in the shop. Didn't tell her what year it was. Mind you, my Lexus is a little older. I mean, not like old. It's in the 2000s, but it's not brand new. I mean, it's like 10 years old. And so, and the Honda's actually pretty new. And so and she writes back, she goes, no worries. Ha ha ha. I just drive a Ford Fusion. And I'm like, fuck, idiot. Like, this woman is a specialty doctor, right? Like, she makes money. And so I'm thinking, like, I gotta impress this woman. And I felt like such an idiot. And I was like, this was last year. This was not very long ago. And so
Wow.
I'm not saying that never happens.
Yeah.
A lot less. And that specific time taught me a lesson. And
that one makes it more ingrained.
Yeah.
You're
well,
like, dude, proofread next time, bro. What am I really doing this for?
And I talked to her about it after, because now we're friends, you
Yeah.
know, and I at one point I told her what happened, and I was like, I'm such an idiot. Like, I can't believe I did this. And she started laughing. She was like, I'm so simple. I don't give a shit. Like, I don't flaunt my money like that. But, and her ethnicity, her nationality is known to be very flashy and rich. And so I mean, all of her brother's a millionaire, like, whatever. Everybody's got a shit ton of money. And so I felt very insignificant. And I realized for a second, I'm like, I am basing my worth on money again. This is what I did when I was a stripper. It was never good enough. I don't care. I was making $20,000 a month, whatever. It didn't matter. Like, that Mercedes wasn't the SLR McLaren, it was a SLK, and it's like that Gucci bag was 2 seasons ago, all that kind of shit. And that became my main focus, was to do everything I could to try to be not only fit in, but feel better than my peers. And the problem was, when all of that, I don't want to say taken away, I pretty much gave it away when I started doing drugs. When I lost everything and everything was stripped from me, I had nothing. My personality was all put into those things because that's what I based my life on. So when those things were gone, I was stripped of everything.
My God. Have you ever heard of Wayne Dyer?
Yeah.
So he says, if you grow up believing that you are what you do, whenever you don't do, you aren't. And if you grow up believing that the things you have and the things that you have and collect are what you are, when you don't have them, you aren't. And
Perfectly said.
oh my gosh.
That's exactly what happened to me.
And man, that was cool to hear. Yeah.